Hi, I'm Jeff Ray, your host for Economic Outlook. Thanks for joining us each week as we discuss the region's most important economic development initiatives with a panel of experts. Communities across the country are in a battle to attract and retain talent, especially those in the 21 to 39 age bracket. Young professional networks have been an important tool in that effort. We'll sit down with several young professionals today for a conversation about why they live in this region and what ways our communities working to connect young professionals. Communities are fighting to stem the outmigration of young talent, where young, skilled individuals move away, often in search of better career opportunities, higher salaries, or a more desirable lifestyle. Young people are often moving to bigger cities and warmer climates for those opportunities. But in our region believes it has a lot to offer and has launched a number of young professional networks to help stop the brain drain. Joining me today to talk more about those networks and the work they're doing are J.C. Wesolowski, the Experience Manager at the South Bend Regional Chamber and the head of YPN South Bend, Will Gaby, Project Manager at New Way Construction and part of the Goshen Emerging Leaders program, and Elena Mitchell, the Director of Development and Community Outreach at El Campito. Welcome, guys. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Maybe just a quick introduction before we hop into this. So Will, I mentioned you're working at New Way. Give us a quick Will Gaby introduction.
Yeah, so I work at New Way, Project Manager. Been there for about 4 years. And got involved in the Goshen Emerging Leaders program about 2 or 3 years ago. I went through the Goshen Chamber's Leadership Development Program, and then out of that we kind of decided to revitalize the Goshen YP, Goshen Emerging Leaders program after COVID hit. And so we have put on some events and done some educational stuff. Over the last few years, we're really pushing our educational outreach right now. So we plan quarterly educational lunch events where we bring people into the chamber, we bring a speaker in and kind of have a lunch workshop where you can learn about different self-development topics.
Great. Elena, let's come your way. So a quick introduction. Who's Elena Mitchell?
That's me.
Okay.
I'm the Director of Development and Community Outreach at El Campito Child Development Center. I mostly am in charge of making sure people know who we are, where we are, and how we can help them and how they can help us.
Great, you do some really important work. Thank you for being here today. And JC, tell us about your position.
Yeah, so my name is JC. I am with the South Bend Regional Chamber. I'm the Experience Manager at the Chamber and also the YPN lead. So I plan and facilitate all chamber events, and then also I plan and facilitate YPN events, Young Professionals Network, and any program to do with YPN.
Great. Okay. So let's get into this YPN. I teased a little bit in the opener about communities across the country are fighting to get young talent. Everybody's focused on this 21 to 39 demographic. They're trying to stem the brain drain. When you look at the best places to live, sometimes LA and Chicago and Seattle and Nashville all rank on this list. But each of you are from this region, have made the decision to stay here. Let's talk a little bit about that. And Elena, I'll come your way first. So you grew up here, and other communities want you to come, but you've decided to stay here. Tell us why you stay here.
On a more personal note, my husband and I, when we first got married, we decided we were going to travel the United States and see where felt like home to us. So we got to go to like the West Coast, the East Coast, we went down south, we did the Middlelands, we went down to New Orleans, like all over the place. And there were really only 3 places that felt like home to both of us. And South Bend was our number one for both of us too. And both of our families are here. It just makes sense. And like the climate is ambivalent, but we get all the seasons here. Doesn't matter what kind of weather you like, you'll get it at some point.
Yeah, so JC, same question. So talk about, you grew up here and have decided to stay here. What's keeping you here in Indiana?
Yeah, so growing up in Walkerton, which is very close to here, I always wanted to sort of get away from the small town mindset. But coming to South Bend growing up always felt like an escape in some ways. I went to Indiana University South Bend and I commuted, so I would go back home at the end of the night, and I was just craving that sense of community that I found and the unique culture that South Bend has compared to other towns. But also just having that big city feel, but also knowing that I can always go home to my rural roots. So that's sort of why I have decided to move to South Bend and stay here.
Great. And Will, some of the question, you grew up in the Goshen area, you're still in the Goshen area. Talk about what is it that made you do not like some young people do and flee to the big city, but decide to stay here?
Yeah, I have always been astonished at how much output Elkhart County does, or the Michiana region does, not just RVs, but I mean, getting to work in commercial construction. I'm kind of exposed to a bunch of different businesses around here and get to see what we produce. And I feel like at least once a week I hear of some business around here that does some huge thing that I've always known about, and I never knew that it was in Elkhart County. And so I think that that's a really cool aspect of living here, is that we have a lot of opportunity no matter what you want to pursue. There's so much. I mean, manufacturing is obviously a big thing, but I've just always been astonished at how productive we are around here.
Yeah, and I think a lot, and we'll get a little bit more into and a lot to do. I want to come your way for a second, Elena. So so there's this conventional wisdom sometimes that people are going to pick the communities first that they want to live in, then worry about a job later. There's also kind of the older school wisdom that says, nope, they're going to find a job first and worry about the community second. In which is it? What your experience was maybe the equal combination of both? Did one or the other lead you to stay here more?
So for me, it's always been El Campito. While I grew up here, I went to Ball State for my undergrad, and I knew I was going to need an internship, and I asked my advisor if there was an internship near home so that I could live in my mom's basement and not have to pay rent as an intern. And I also wanted to do my internship in a place where I could focus on both majors, Spanish and child development. And my advisor said that she had just met the director at El Campito at our state conference. So she hooked up a meeting with her for me over that spring break, and I applied for an internship, and she was basically like, when can you start? So I interned at El Campito. Immediately after, they offered me a job, and then I just kept getting promoted, and here we are.
Great.
So now I've been there 10 years because I had one great opportunity from a chance meeting from my advisor to Laura Jensen, who was the director at the time. So it's El Campito, and my family is here as well. It's a no-brainer.
Right. Yep. We'll talk about that. Just this balance of the job that keeps you here, the community that keeps you here, a little bit of a combination of both.
Both my wife and I are from this area, and we both really like the active community that we get in Goshen. We love First Fridays. We love how lively our downtown is. Having a small town downtown that's actually alive and has events and has open stores and stuff that you can go when we really enjoy. And also work. I think that we have a really unique kind of culture, and I don't often find myself in rooms with people that I don't get along with, and so that's pretty big. So yeah, I think between those two, it's pretty hard to beat it for me.
Yeah, well, I'm going to stick with you for a second. So let's think about New Way for a second, because part of New Way's challenge, like all employers, is to attract and keep young people like here. What does New Way do that sort of helps make that a great place for you to work?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. I was actually just having the same conversation with, we had a subcontractor come in and just do kind of a meet and greet. And New Way specifically is pretty big on kind of employee perks. So we have a 32-foot camper and a truck that anyone can check out at any time and go camping whenever they want. We have a pickleball court in our shop that we play pickleball in all the time. We bought a Cybertruck, and any employee can take that whenever they want. So it's really fun to work for people who are so, I mean, you can tell Andy and Jan are our two owners and the leadership, and it it's fun because it makes them happy to see you happy and to like be able to give you those opportunities. And so I would say stuff like that, along with I have a ton of flexibility in my schedule. They're very, no one's breathing down my neck or anything. As long as I'm performing as I should and getting my work done, then they're happy and I'm happy. So I think, all those things combined to make a really good work environment.
Yeah, and JC is kind of similar, thinking this job versus community kind of thing. Does one weigh heavier than the other, or are they both sort of equally important to your decision to stay here?
I would definitely say equally important. Obviously, when it came to staying in South Bend, cost of living was a factor, a less competitive job market compared to larger cities. But the community is just so rich, I would say, and not even only because I went to school here. I would just say all of the programs that we have here, like YPN, but also the work that El Campito is doing, just different programs related to that and just community development also keep me here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Historically, like I've told the story to YPs many times that Des Moines, Iowa, was like the #1 place in the country for young people, and it's not a city that you would guess, but it had it sort of size and scale similar to here. It was easy to get connected with other people. People found they could really thrive there, and a little easier than they can in a Chicago or a Seattle or Nashville or something like that. So I love that here. That pretty quickly here you could sort of get on about anybody's calendar that you wanted to hear, and I think that's an important piece. JC, let's dive a little deeper into YPN a little bit. So you have the task of kind of being the lead for Young Professionals Network South Bend. Give us a little bit of a kind of maybe some history and a little bit of sort of purpose, why it exists.
Yeah, so YPN was established in 2005. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. So for the past 2 decades, YPN's mission has been to develop, connect, and empower young professionals in the area. So through various educational programs, just like the Goshen Emerging Leaders, we have some power lunches, executive conversations where YPs can directly speak to local leaders, just to empower them, just something that they can relate to, a story that can inspire them. But also we have just general networking social hours where you can not only connect with local young professionals, but you also get to see some new spaces in the area that you might not be exposed to as a YP until further on in your career. So that's sort of the mission of YPN.
Okay. Yeah. Elaine, I want to talk to you for a second, because I think this, I'm really old, as you all know, but I think when I was a young person that, I didn't know anybody in these workplaces. Talk about just maybe the importance of making connections and meeting other young people and how that impacts kind of your quality of life here.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first got into my position, I was coming from the classroom, and I really did not feel like a professional because I had spent my days on the floor playing Play-Doh, and I decided for the first year or so that I was just going to say yes to everything, and then the chips would fall into place as far as I would kind of feel out where I wanted to be as far as where I felt like I should be, and YPN was one of those places I was like, this is a place for me. This is a place where I can meet other professionals in a a more casual setting than hey, would you like to have a business meeting with me? It's an opportunity to share my organization, but also hear about what's going on in the community, and like she was saying, getting into new spaces. There's been plenty of times I have oh, there's a YP at 5 there. I haven't been there yet. I need to go to that one. So it's really just a great opportunity to get yourself out there and then meet others as they get themselves out there.
Yeah. We'll build on that a little bit. Talk about just the connections that happen at events at the Goshen Emerging Leaders, how important that connection is with other people.
Yeah, it's super important. One of the cool things that I've been able to watch over the last 3 years as we've kind of built up post-COVID has been to see recurring faces coming back and back again to the same events. and you go from the first event that we put on after COVID when we were starting to get our feet under us, where you all kind of stand around and no one really knows what to do, no one really knows anyone, to now where you have people coming and saying, hey, good to see you again, and you have, people talking, and then those conversations, whether now or down the road, will inevitably lead to some opportunities or some new business partnerships or friendships or whatever they lead to. But I think community is huge, and whatever we can do to try to grow that is huge.
I do think when I'm talking to business leaders, sometimes this is some glue, and this feeling like there's a little glue or a chance to keep you here if you know other people and interact with other people here. But if you feel like you're the only one here, you may not be as inclined to stay here. Yeah. So, GC, talk a little bit, just maybe the makeup, a little bit of, we have people from like all industries, all ages. Give us a feel for like the participants as people are watching and are thinking, I want to come to this. Talk to us about who comes to these and it kind of get them excited about coming to an event.
Yeah, so you really meet so many diverse walks of life, so many diverse career paths, from industries in healthcare, manufacturing, communications, just so many different industries all packed into YPN, especially on our ambassador team. Like Elena is one of our ambassadors for YPN, just all different industries. So we're really trying to stray away from that standard idea of a young professionals network where you need to show up in a suit and tie or a blazer. And if you're in manufacturing and you come in just wearing your dirty clothes from the workday, that's totally fine. No one's gonna bat an eye. Same thing with healthcare if you come in your scrubs. Just respecting and also straying away from that just sort of groupthink mindset of having it only be your typical business professionals. There's really all walks of life at YPN.
I love it, and I know it's interesting in my early days being involved pre YPN. I'm that old, but but it was that chance to, like, through the chamber to meet some other folks. I think when I was first there, sometimes felt like I was 20 years younger than anybody else, and I wasn't sure if I fit in there. And I think it's been really neat to see, kind of it emerge, and for programming and such to be what the YPs want, and I think that's great. And so talk about that, that for us a little bit. This, as you talk about kind of the programming, this is kind of YPs sort of drive it, pick it, decide, what they want. Tell us a little about your success there.
Yeah. So we. When we first started out, we had 4 pillars. So we focused on networking, education, mentorship, and education. And our original goal was to have an event focused around one of those pillars every quarter. And what we found out through a lot of trial and error is that, at least in our experience, people right now don't really see the value in just a networking event where you just kind of show up and meet people. But people really see the value in an educational event where if you have a topic or you have a speaker, you have some structure, then they'll show up for that. So what we've done is we kind of have a hybrid approach now. So we have kind of an 1.5 to 2 hour block. The first half an hour will be kind of a structured networking. So we'll have either like some icebreaker games or something like that to get people out of their shell, get people talking, not just the people that they know. And then for the next hour after that, it's the speaker's workshop time. So whether that's just a presentation or an interactive workshop, we've done negotiating skills. We've done, oh goodness, I'm on the spot now. We've got one coming up at the end of this month on emotional intelligence and leadership. Nice. So that'll be a workshop that we have. But whatever it is, one of the things that I'm always really happy to see is that we always run over on time, because after the speaker's done, then people are talking still, people are interacting, people have questions. And so that always makes me feel really good to see that level of engagement and involvement from the people that show up.
Great. JC, build on that and talk a little bit about just examples of programming,
Right.
whether it be kind of speakers or topics or events, some of that are maybe a few of the highlights.
Right, so our largest event that we have in the year is our YP Summit, just our annual professional development half-day conference that we host, and it entails 2 different breakout sessions with 3 breakout options within those sessions, and then a keynote speaker. So that's sort of our overall event that we work towards. It's usually always towards the end of the year. This year it's going to be on September 25th. And just something that YPs can come to feel empowered. But we also obviously have our smaller educational events like our power lunches and our executive conversations where YPs can connect with business leaders. But I think it's interesting how you mentioned that there's not really an appeal to the sort of networking social hours, because I find that those do really well for YPN, and I think a vital aspect of that is our ambassador team, because our team of ambassadors is there to welcome any new YPs. They're always willing to shake a hand, introduce them to other people in their industry even. So I think our ambassador team is really the driving force of YPN.
I love it though, because it is a little like, it's like your first day of school sometimes, or your first day, trying to get folks to be comfortable. So talk about why you spend your free time helping do stuff like that. Why is that so important?
I mean, as an extrovert, I love to make friends kindergarten style. Like, hi, I'm Elena, do you want to be friends? I mean, it also helps me build great connections, like, oh, you're looking for someone to do financial literacy, you need to meet my friend over here that was just telling me that she's looking for someone to do financial literacy. And I've been able to facilitate all kinds of cool stuff like that simply because I've gotten to know people and ask questions. And I mean, it really is empowering to be able to make those kind of connections, and it's like affirming, like, I am a professional, even though I am young and don't have as much experience as some other people. It's a wonderful experience, and even if I don't end up making any connections that day, you guys always have great food. So
perfect. Yep. So I'm going to ask just a quick follow-up with you. So because you've had a chance to sort of be at the summit or come to different events, if you were recommended to somebody that they come to one thing to sort of get started, what would you recommend to them?
Number one is the summit.
Okay.
That's what got me into it in the first place. A friend invited me to the summit, and then she got sick, so I ended up going by myself. And after that, I was hooked.
Yeah.
If you're going to do just one thing, do the summit.
Okay. Will, as we're starting to get near the end of our time, I want to say, so help make the pitch to someone in Elkhart County, Goshen area, give them the elevator speech, why they should come to Goshen Emerging Leaders and experience that.
Absolutely. I really liked what you said earlier, that community is like the glue that can keep people here. And I think that there's a lot of truth in that. If you don't have community, or you don't have peers, you don't have professional peers even, that you get along with, or that you have a type of relationship with, then it is pretty tough to see all the benefits that we have to offer in this area. So first and foremost, I mean, if you're someone that's looking for that, absolutely we have that to offer. Right now I think we have around 30 people registered for our next event, so there's plenty of new faces that'll be there for you to meet. And I would hope to double that if we can. We'll pack as many people into that room as we can fit. But I mean, every event that I'm at for our for GEL, there's always a ton of energy in the room. Everyone's happy to be there. Everyone is talking. We do have some pretty good food too, so for what that's worth. But yeah, I mean, I would say community number one, and then obviously the skills you're going to get from the workshop. We have really good speakers that come in and give their time and give their knowledge to the young professionals that are trying to make themselves better. So
great. JC did similar. Give us a minute or so, a pitch as to why somebody ought to come experience YP South Bend.
Yeah, so YPN South Bend, one of our direct missions is to empower, because without community, I don't think anyone can feel empowered. So just to come to YPN to make those professional connections, not only with your peers, but also with local business leaders in most of our educational programming. Well, we also uplift local other YPs. Our most recent power lunch is highlighting another YP in the area that has a very inspiring story. But you also just get to meet so many business leaders, and that's one of my favorite aspects of it, is just getting to hear these stories that just inspire you and motivate you to stay in South Bend, because you get to see why they have stayed and how it's benefited them.
Yep.
So.
One important just for our viewers, that even though it's called YP South Bend, if you're in
Yeah.
Mishawaka and Roseland or Walkerton,
Exactly.
or you're welcome, and similar if you're in Elkhart or Goshen or Middlebury or whatever,
Yep.
you're welcome. The geography isn't exclusive there, so
Right.
make sure folks go. Elena, in our last minute, make the pitch to somebody, a young person not living here, as to why they should come live in the South Bend, Mishawaka area.
First of all, it's super fun all the time. We have every season and we have every type of environment that you could expect. There's a documentary about South Bend, Big Enough, Small Enough. It's small enough for small town feels and big enough for big city feels. And really, you get everything without having to go anywhere. And it's more bang for your buck.
Guys, thank you so much for being here today and talking about it. Thanks for the good work you're doing to try to keep young professionals in the area. You guys are having some great success. We're glad we got a chance to highlight it today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's it for our show today. Thank you for joining us. Find Economic Outlook at WNIT.org, YouTube, or on most major podcast platforms. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. I'm Jeff Ray. I'll see you next time.
This WNIT local production has been made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.